face the challenge of the Funhouse. Who is mad enough to enter that world of darkness?
Something is alive in the Funhouse. Something not alive like its father. Something better dead. Something that has the form of a human, but not the face.
This better be good.
It's gonna be great.
Something that feeds off the flesh and blood of young innocents.
Come on, here we go. This is it.
Something that tonight will turn the Funhouse into a carnival of terror.
I don't know what that thing is. We're gonna find you. I just want to get the hell out of here.
What's up, Rotters, and welcome back to Brainrot, the podcast that takes a deep dive into the best and worst horror films of the 80s and 90s. I'm Stevie, your VHS veteran. I hope you're all doing horrendously. This week's episode is brought to you by Andrew Coker, Jessica Pear, Johan Egerkrans, Jill, Mary Willis, Joel Gom, Ev Ruby, Lee Richards, Laura Manson, Daniel Paul, and Tim Matthews. These wonderful people all support the show over on Patreon, and I can't thank you enough, but I'll try. Your support means the world, and I hope you're enjoying your bonus content, freaks, which last week included a spoiler-free review of the awesome Orphan First Kill with Joshua Tonks on the Cellar Dweller tier. That was so much fun. One of my favourite films of the year so far. If you love the show and fancy supporting us too, just head to patreon.com/Stevie's Brainrot as always. That's not part of the address, it stops after Brainrot, and then comma, as always. This week, it's time for a Dream Warriors special, as I welcome back Mike Muncer and Becky Darke to talk all things The Funhouse, Tobe Hooper's atmospheric and sleazy 1981 trash-to-piece. I hadn't seen this for some years, and I think with age, I've developed a much bigger appreciation for it and its rich, lived-in aesthetic and vibe. I absolutely loved it, and it has shot up in my favourite 80s horrors list. Are you a fan? Get in touch, let me know. On Twitter, it's Stevie's Brainrot. Or you can email me, steviesbrainrot@gmail.com. It's always lovely to hear from you. Right then, time to open up the fair and let a couple of reprobates in. Oi, oi!
Savaloy.
Oi!
That's it, that's my hello.
That took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting
I know, both of your faces. It was wonderful. How are we? 'Tis spooky season, and it books up fast, doesn't it, these days? Especially when you're in the horror realm. How about you, Mike? You've got a busy month coming up, right?
Oh my god, it has been insane. Even this week, I was telling Becky yesterday, but this is the 9th podcast I've recorded this week about horror films.
Talking about?
Yeah, 9th.
There aren't that many days.
And actually, I don't
It's only
have
the 7th.
Right. Yeah. And I'm talking Monday to... We're recording this on a Friday. I'm talking Monday to Friday. I'm talking 5 days. Yeah. It's insane. And I was... we were just talking about how Becky's got a beer at the moment for recording. I was going to do that, but I was like, the problem is I drink a beer every time I record a podcast. So this week has been a nightmare. So I thought maybe I shouldn't. But yeah, I love it. I can't complain. It's spooky season.
Yeah,
I'm watching lots of great films. I'm chatting to lots of great people about great films. I love it.
Are you getting any chance to... I realise I don't do it that often anymore, but to just watch a film that you want to watch because you've chosen to?
Well, I have watched a couple of good non-horror things in the last week or so because it's been London Film Festival, so that has actually been quite a treat. But I have found myself more and more, like at the moment I'm supposed to be seeing London Film Festival movies with our friend Brad Hanson. Brad is seeing absolutely everything as he always does, back to back, and he keeps texting me every morning being like, are you going to the 9 a.m. screening of this? And I'm always like, no, I'm gonna swerve that. I'm gonna give that a miss because sometimes you just need a little break from it, don't you? I think.
Is it because you're old and married now, Mike?
It is partly that,
Oh,
to
yes.
be honest. It is partly that. But also, did you hear me when I said 9 podcasts this week, Becky?
Yeah, sorry.
I mean,
Yeah. Fine. All right.
Fair. What about you, Becky? How's your month so far?
Yeah, fine. I'm back in therapy, so that's good.
Oh, good.
Yeah, quite happy about that. And using horror as my other therapy, as usual. So I've been watching a fair amount. In answer to your question, no, I haven't really watched anything that I fancied watching just for the sake of it. But because all of the stuff that I'm watching for stuff is kind of fun, horror, silly, spooky stuff anyway, it's all in line. It's not a problem. It's not too much of a chore. I'm very busy, but most of my busyness is kind of coming up, unlike Mike, has already kicked off. But we've got loads of fun stuff planned, and yeah, it's all good. I love October.
Yeah, me too. Are either of you doing anything on actual Halloween evening? This sounds like I'm inviting you to something I'm not. I'm just asking if
Well,
you
you
have got
can come
anything
to
planned.
our thing.
Yeah.
Because yes, we are.
We've got a thing. Becky,
that
tell them about the thing.
The John Carpenter film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, it's about a creature. So at the Regent Street Cinema in London on Monday the 31st, aka Halloween, aka Samhain. We are doing, so under the Evolution of Horror Presents strand, we are doing a screening of Creature from the Black Lagoon. We have got a great panel of people after the film. So we've got Jamie Graham.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that again.
Lloyd.
So it doesn't seem like I couldn't
Jamie
remember his
Lloyd.
name. Jamie Lloyd's coming.
And Lee Curtis. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got a fun panel after the screening. So we've got Jamie Graham and Layla Latif are going to join me and Mike to dive deep into the Black Lagoon.
Very good.
Nice.
And because the Regent Street Cinema has got its own kind of vintage cinema organ that it uses for all kinds of events and like accompanying silent films and stuff like that. So even though Creature from the Black Lagoon is an old Universal horror, it's not a silent one. It's not that old.
Yes.
But we didn't want to miss the opportunity to get the organ out. So we're doing like an interval in the middle where the organist is going to do a performance. It's going to be proper, wholesome, spooky fun for Halloween.
That sounds fucking ace. And who doesn't love an old organ? That's
right.
Exactly.
So, The Funhouse, 1981, by Tobe Hooper. So it was originally, what I love about this film, it was originally meant to be low budget, so $400,000 movie with Toby attached. And this is after the success, obviously, of Texas Chainsaw and Eaten Alive, which were low budget independent films. But then the script of this, which was written by Larry Block, this became kind of a hot commodity in the movie circles. And Universal Studios wanted to make a teen horror in the wake of Friday the 13th. And so they decided to take the rights of this and bump it up to a $3 million studio movie. And there's a bit of a hoo-ha, though, because everyone who was already attached had signed their deals to be paid as though it were a $400,000 movie, and they still were, with the budget of $3 million. But the money was well spent, in my opinion, because the production value is insane. Now, had you seen this before, Mike? Had you?
I had, yes, but a long time ago, and actually, like, you know, it almost felt like I was going in. I had for some reason very different memories of this film, and when I watched it, I had quite a different experience to what I had first time round. So yeah, I had seen it, but a long time ago, and very kind of different kind of memories of it.
Yeah. What about you, Becky?
This was a first time watch. So yeah. So I didn't, when you first asked Mike and I to guest on the Funhouse episode, I didn't actually realise that this was a Tobe Hooper movie. So yeah, sorry, you've said it now and I'm picking it up.
Yes, that's it.
So yeah, that was kind of a pleasant surprise. I was like, oh my God, I love Tobe Hooper. Like, I'm well up for this. Now I've got a bit of a gripe that I'd like to raise immediately.
Let's go. Put it on the table now. Go on.
You know full well I've got a clown phobia.
Yes. This is very clown light. I would say it's clown.
Says somebody who apparently doesn't have a clown phobia. Because trust
I do.
me, well, do you? Because I also had Mike watch it first so that he could run clown recon and like fucking warn me. And he was like, "Don't worry, mate. There's no clowns."
Yeah.
And there are clowns. There are clowns.
You mean the animatronic ones?
I'm so... Mate, if they were painted in crayons on the wall, it's still an issue. Like, yes, they're animatronic. Also, the thing that kicked off my clown phobia was Doctor Who, bloody Sylvester McCoy, with the animatronic clowns in the big top. So, yeah, I didn't love this film because it's freaked me out to an inordinate degree, and I'm uncomfortable and I don't like it and I'm unhappy.
So it's a success. This is a great review. I'm loving it.
I'm furious.
Are you talking about fun fairs and fun houses and all that sort of stuff? Are you both fans of that? Because it's Louise who absolutely hates any kind of sort of horror-y fun fair walkthrough, isn't it? What about you, Mike? Do you like them?
I love them so much, and this is part of what I love about this film. We'll get into it, but it's quite a long time before anything actually happens. Like, a lot of this film, we are just soaking up the vibes of the carnival, and I think this film captures so well what I love and what I used to love about that idea of, like, that kind of little sort of town green, like village green that you'd have around the corner that every once a year would get occupied by this bizarre travelling, fairground carnival. And it always felt exciting, but kind of scary at the same time. And I was always kind of obsessed with it. I loved it. And I love theme parks, I love rides, and I love all that kind of stuff anyway. But there's something particularly about these kind of travelling carnivals and travelling fairs that I love, and I think the film captures that kind of horror and magic really well,
Yeah, I think you're totally right, especially about the fact that nothing... Originally, Larry Block's script, it was before Universal changed it. There was a lot more rapey stuff and a lot more mutilation because the monster Gunther, his name is, you don't really find that out. Originally, the opening was we hear about the two girls that were killed. Originally, we saw that, but they took all that out. And actually, I know a few people who think it is slow or a bit boring, actually. It's quite divisive in that way. But watching it last night, it really made me realise and remember what a master and auteur Hooper was when it came to creating an atmosphere, because yes, once they get to the carnival, there's this slow sense of unease that mounts, and there are some creepy sort of non-threatening characters like the crazy old lady or the barker. And I was trying to watch it objectively, and I realised after about an hour we still don't know what the threat of the movie is going to be, and we all know it's a horror movie, and that there are 4 young adults, and they're sneaking in overnight to a carnival. And this carnival is previously linked to 2 young girls dying. But the building of this world, I think, is masterful, in my opinion. And anyone can orchestrate a jump scare or threatening, scary antagonist or a monster. But the unease that is built, I think, is absolutely incredible and works so well. Do you agree with that? Becky, what do you think?
I do agree with it. I agree that you're right that they're very good at building this world. Unfortunately, I hate this world with the fire of 1,000 suns. And I didn't have a very nice time. No. I'm in the camp that thought it was very slow and very boring. I texted Mike at 45 minutes and went, I'm at 45 minutes and not a drop of blood has been spilt.
Right.
And Mike was like, yeah, vibes. And I was like, yeah, vibes are fine if you're enjoying the vibes. But unfortunately, I was at a carnival.
Yeah.
So
fair.
I didn't like it.
I guess that's where that split is, though.
But the fact is I didn't like it because you are right, and they did such a good job of creating this place that I hate to be. So,
it is immersive.
It's immersive, and Hooper is a genius, and I do love his stuff, but it suffered from my point of view, and, this is just the most subjective reading. It suffered from my point of view because if it was spending all that time building the world and taking its time and, kind of teasing out what the threat is and stuff.
Yeah.
But it wasn't at a carnival where I didn't want to be. I probably would have been more into it. But I was literally like everything that came up on screen, I was like, don't like that. Don't like that. Don't like that.
Right.
Yeah,
That's horrible. Don't like that.
Well, it's actually so much like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, isn't it? It is just the Texas Chainsaw Massacre almost plonked in a carnival, I think, structurally.
Yes.
Like I think it's about, 45 to 50 minutes into Texas Chainsaw when we get the first appearance of Leatherface and the kill. And until that, it's just soaking up that horrible Texas atmosphere, shots of cows and slaughterhouses and weird locals and strange people and strange places. And then there is a kind of burst of violence and then one final girl left screaming and then it kind of ends. And this is actually pretty similar to that. It's just in a different setting, right? With a little bit more money. And I guess it depends what you prefer in terms of your setting and your pacing. But I love this kind of a horror film. And I think you're right. Tobe Hooper, he's just the master of plonking you in a world that feels very real, very visceral, very sweaty and lived in, and making you feel deeply uncomfortable and unsafe as well. And there are moments, we'll talk about them as we go, I'm sure, but moments in this where I'm like, what is this? Why is this in this film? And why is it so weird and creepy and sleazy,
Yes, absolutely. Like The Magician, for instance. But I think all those moments are like, who's it going to be? Who is going to be our antagonist? And that's why we meet all these people, and they're all a little off, and there's no guarantee of which one is going to turn. So actually, can I have a little synopsis, please, from you, Mike?
Yeah. Apologies, this is longer than I was expecting this synopsis to be. Strap yourselves in. Here we go. Oh,
wonderful. Can't wait.
In a small town of Iowa, it's that exciting time of year again. The sleazy, fucked up carnival is coming to town. Against the advice of her concerned parents, Amy attends the carnival with her boyfriend Buzz and her two disposable friends, Liz and Richie. Amy is also followed by her creepy little brother, who enjoys terrorizing her in the shower any chance he gets. The carnival is filled with all the magic and delights one would expect. Seedy strip shows, history lessons about Vlad the Impaler, and cows with cleft palates. But when Amy and friends decide to have an all-night lock-in inside the Funhouse for some reason, they get a little bit more freaky entertainment than they bargained for when they see a deformed man get a hand job from a fortune teller before brutally murdering her. Soon, Amy and friends find themselves trapped in the funhouse, running from a bunch of crazed carnies, and in the words of another horror film not unlike this one, who will survive and what will be left of them?
Very good. That's your best. That shows me that you really like the film because you invested in your synopsis. You can tell because sometimes you two, I can always tell by your synopses.
Yeah, something happens and then it ends. Yeah,
something happens.
So you'll notice that when Stevie sent the message around to the group saying who wants to do the synopsis, I was like, Mike can do it.
You volunteered, Mike. Yes,
like, me.
It's an interesting opening, though, isn't it? Because this was filmed after everything else. They added this because originally it didn't have an opener, really. It sets it up like it's going to be a sort of giallo, and there's this very awkward encounter, which you touched on, Mike, between Joey and his fully developed sister, Amy. What did you think of this opening, Becky?
I actually really enjoyed the opening, minus the clowns. In fact, before we even get to that, can we just talk quickly about the
credits?
The opening credits.
Oh my God, yes.
So you get every credit sort of comes up on like the side of the screen next to something messed up from the Funhouse, which you don't really realise while you're watching the credits. And then you get to the Funhouse later and you're like, hold on a minute, I recognise these guys. It's all those creepy guys from the credits. So just wanted to shout that out because they're good credits.
Really good.
And yeah, I mean, it's kind of Halloween, isn't it? You've got that sort of POV shot going around the bedroom. Do we find out why there's a load of kind of bondage stuff on the wall?
The knives and the chains
knives and the like shackles and stuff.
Not really. No. I guess it's just what Joey's. Well, but this is the thing. Is that Joey's room or is that his sister's room?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's his room because
and
it's
then he
like,
goes to his sister's.
Because there's Universal monsters on the wall in like posters. You see the Wolfman, you see Frankenstein's monster.
Yes, that's why when Universal picked it up, obviously they've got the rights to all of these. That's why Frankenstein is the mask on Gunther.
And he's watching Bride of Frankenstein on the TV, so it's great. Like, it's all decked out in that. But then he's like, this kid has got a wall of bondage gear, and he sort of, through the POV peruses and decides upon this weapon, and it's like a big machete thing. We get nice big floppy tit shot. She's in the shower, and then you get it like through the mask with the two little eye slits. And he like goes to stab her, and it's like, oh, amazing! This is a fun opening, isn't it? We've sort of seen this before. We're comfortable when we know where we are, and then it turns out, he's just a pranker. He's just a little pranker boy, and the knife isn't real. And she's kind of initially absolutely terrified because she thinks that somebody's about to knife her in the shower, psycho style. Yeah. And then it turns out she's like, oh god, no, it's just Joey again, and then goes properly off the deep end and gives him one of the most spine-chilling threats I've ever seen.
I love that so much.
Which he constantly hears, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I know, like echoing in his brain for the rest of the film.
Yeah, you're not going to know when it's coming, but you're going to get it. And also, this little boy does have a bit of a strange, scary night, and I want to know what happens to him later when he's lying asleep being stroked by that fully grown man. But anyway, we'll get to that. But
when he's being washed by the carnival paedophile.
Groomed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Literally
what
groomed.
was that all about?
Yeah, very strange. And the worst thing about that, I think, this is jumping obviously, but afterwards, whatever's happened, he seems to have gone mute. So we never quite find out what has happened.
Right, exactly.
Before his parents arrived. He's like traumatized by something.
Yes.
Yes. But yes, so the dad, he kind of casually sets the stakes, doesn't he? Because he's like, you're not allowed at that carnival, two little girls went missing and had to be identified by their dental records. But somehow this carnival is still travelling. Dental records. What did he do to them? They were Girl Scouts. Like, they must have been obliterated. How horrendous is that? So already we're like, right, well, please don't go to that fucking carnival. And then we have our four mains, don't we? Four mains. Roast beef, cock a van.
Yeah. Chips.
Our four main characters, Buzz, Amy, Richie, and Liz. How did you find this gang? They're very reminiscent of the Scooby-Doo gang, Mystery Inc., I think. Do you think they're typical depictions of 80s teen horrors, or is there a bit more to them? What do you think, Mike?
There is a bit of something to them, right? Like, I think, the fact that it's a relatively small group helps. It's like, okay, it's only four of them that I need to
I can remember their names
get my head around. And, there is this kind of slight backstory with the boyfriend Buzz, who may be sort of from the wrong side of the tracks, and the parents don't like her seeing him. And so that's kind of interesting in that setup. And then we've got the two friends. Liz is kind of a bit of a sort of best friend sort of archetype, and then a bit of a dickhead boyfriend Richie, right, who is kind of the character who is going to get it at some point, more than anyone else.
He gets it bad as well.
He gets it bad. It's great. But I would say, like, I think, as opposed to some slasher films we three have talked about where you're just like, who was that person that got killed? Absolutely no idea.
Yes.
Like,
right.
I did get a gauge of the four of them and their dynamics and their relationships, and that's kind of all you need in the setup for something like this, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, and just that's all we ask for, is that we can differentiate between our teens, and I do think each of them has a slight, modicum of a personality, which is such a winner at this 1981. What did you think, Becky?
Yeah, I can't agree more with what both of you have said. Really, it's nice to, because there's only four of them. You get more screen time and more script with each, and that does just help. And so, and because the film is sort of split in its action between the carnival folk and the teens, you're not just with the teens all the time running away from like one killer or whatever. I think what works really well is because there is a smaller number of them, because you don't get as much screen time as you maybe would do in other teen slashers.
Mm-hmm.
It just, as you guys say, sort of helps you stay on top of who's who, whether you give a shit about them or not, whether you can't wait for them to die because they're being really annoying. So I think like the archetypes are pretty solid, but you're right. Like I think with it being Tobe Hooper, and yeah, the setup and the smaller number just makes it a little more interesting, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And as you say, having that split narrative between the folk and the teens is a nice little touch, I think. And so yeah, when they do get there, they kind of, this is the bit where I think people start to go, oh, it's a bit boring, nothing's happening. But for me, it really works. I suppose there's a bit of a dichotomy in that camp, because I love that they go from attraction to attraction.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, we go to the magician and the fortune teller, the animal freak show, and you know, some of them come back and some of them don't. I really love this. Did this land for you, this sort of... I suppose this is setting up the world, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, I love it. Like I said, I think nobody creates a sense of kind of place more than Tobe Hooper. Like when you watch a Tobe Hooper film, it's like you can smell the world you're in, right? And I feel that with this. Like he spends so much time on these details, and it's weird and it's uncomfortable. Those cows, like I feel so sad and also quite disturbed by those cows that we see right in this film, and all of it kind of gives me that feeling.
Yeah, it's kind of, it feels a bit scuzzy and a bit like, oh, this feels wrong. And so this was completely built up. You know, they hired a lot of the carnival and they built it all in Miami in this sort of backlot. And they actually had lots of the workers from actual carnivals come. But the actual Funhouse was completely built from scratch. As you can probably tell that because the details are amazing.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. Like if I actually, one of the fairs I went to as a kid, if it was that fucking intense inside, I would never come out either. I'd probably be sleeping there. It's fucking brilliant. But the fortune teller scene I think is one of my favourites, this Madame Zena, because we do see a little weird moment of possible magic with the crystal ball sort of rolling back to her, but they don't dwell on it. And I think that just plants something in your head, doesn't it? Like, ooh, are we going there? Is it going to be supernatural? But they don't dwell on it, and it's really good. And then she has this line of, you know, don't come back here or I'll break every bone in your fucking bodies. It's like, this place is sketchy. She's just promised GBH on these kids, and it just suddenly feels dangerous, doesn't it?
They are being so obnoxious because they've basically all just got massively stoned and then gone in to have their fortunes read. And, you know, you've got Amy having her fortune read. And, you know, this is this woman's profession. And they just like,
livelihood.
She must have to put up with so much shit, this poor woman. They've just got like the other three of them like giggling in the corner. So I was kind of on board with her, to be honest, when she started threatening like grievous bodily harm to these children.
Something I think I must have missed from every fair I ever went to as a kid. Missed, or just maybe it just wasn't on my radar being gay, but the sexy girl tent, was that ever something?
Girls.
Yes, girls tent. Did they exist? With little old men wanking at the back?
Sorry, old men wanking in the back, and the compere like showing off his sister.
Right.
Mona, my own sister.
It's
they
so
wiggle
sleazy.
and they dance.
It's so good. No, I was gonna say we didn't get this in Folkestone in Kent where I grew up. Definitely not. No. But it's so sleazy. I love it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean it's busy though as well. So that's obviously they make a lot of money with that one. But that the compere or the Barker of that one, that is the same guy. So we have him playing three. He plays this is Kevin Conway, so he plays the father of Gunther, he plays the girls Barker, and also the freak show Barker, so all the other ones, so there's three of them.
I'm glad you pointed that out, because I was like, these guys all look the same.
Yeah, right.
It's because they're the same.
Yeah. And it also, you know, I think it's not deliberate, but there's a touch of, is there some inbreeding going on? Because it's all
definitely. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I assumed, but no, it just turns out that they've cast the same guy 3 times, which is actually really genius.
It's good.
I really enjoyed some of the kind of like background noise details. So when you're with the magician, there's all of these hecklers in the crowd, and like at one point somebody just goes, "Get a proper job."
Yes, so
there's
good.
lots of that. It's all like do something else for a living. Because I had the subtitles on as well, and they were all just horrible. So why are you there then? Just leave.
It's so good. I really loved that. I was really laughing.
Was anyone else though genuinely quite freaked out by that show when he like shoves a stake through that girl's heart?
The blood comes out of her mouth.
Oh my god! Like it genuinely, I gasped at that moment. I was so into the carnival stuff. I almost forgot I was watching a horror film. To be honest, like I loved it.
Yeah, because your mind immediately goes, hang on, has it gone wrong? Or is he just killing her? Yeah, it's great. Very clever, nice little stuff. So the actual Funhouse they get on, as I said, I just love it so much. I love those. Do you know what? They're scarier to me than horror mazes when humans jump out. It's that rickety, shaky, animatronic sort of cogs that really fucking scare me. And I love that we're on a sort of POV of the ride for a bit. In fact, this might be really sad, but something I do from time to time. Did you know there's a whole like community on YouTube of people who pro-cam roller coasters and fun houses and stuff? So it's a POV of, you can go any place in the world, whether it's Universal Studios or this one or that one, all over America, and you can watch full screen a POV of every ride. And the roller coasters, they actually feel your tummy goes and stuff. It's so well shot. And I go on the haunted house ones because they really elicit genuine childhood sort of fear, and they're amazing. And just that little moment got me so excited, you know, when it's going through on POV. And I think I'd recommend anyone doing it if they're into it, because it's really good fun.
If there isn't one of Professor Burp's Bubble Works at Chessington World of Adventures, I'm not interested.
I'm sure there is.
I mean, you could set a really good horror film in Professor Burp's Bubble Works as well.
Well, I'll tell you what is horrifying, my friend, is it's not Professor Burp's Bubble Works anymore. It's now Imperial Leather Bubble Works.
I know!
And they have ruined
sold
it.
out. They sold out.
Fuck's sake. Unbelievable. Yeah.
Man. Bloody hell. Things start to take a little turn, don't they, when we witness the Barker's son, Gunther, in an engagement with Madame Xena.
Wow.
Becky, what do you think of this moment? Because I suppose this is where our characters are suddenly in the shit, right? Because what they say.
This is going to make me sound... Well, you can make your own judgment, but This is my favourite bit of the film.
Yes, fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Classic Becky.
Because I literally just texted Mike to be like, it's 45 minutes and nothing's fucking happened. And then this happened,
wait,
and I was
wait.
like,
Fortune teller's wanking off the monster.
Yeah, I was like, oh, all right, fine, we're back. I loved everything about this scene. I think, like, at first, I wasn't sure why he was giving her money. I didn't realise it was like a solicitation thing. Then when she was like, do you want to take your mask off? I thought, oh, like, you know, he's kind of at the end of a day's work or something. She wants to make him comfortable. And then I was like, oh, she wants to make him comfortable. I see. And it's not... What I really loved about it is... And I guess this is classic Tobe Hooper, so I shouldn't have been surprised, but it just didn't shy away from it at all. Like, you got a full downward shot from the kid's POV looking through the hole, like in the floorboards or whatever, of her, like, just full wanking off this masked freak. And do you know what? It was quite a weirdly... tender moment.
Yes. Oh.
And then what it does is it flips it on its head and exposes bare the horrible violence and misogyny and danger behind sex work.
Right.
And I was like, do you know what? In the last 3.5 minutes, I've had a better time than I have for the last 45. I thought it was amazing.
I sort of know what you mean as well about the tender thing. Like, this is the other thing that's really weird and uncomfortable about Tobe Hooper, is that his villains all have a sort of humanity about them, right? Even Gunther, he's a bit like Leatherface, where you sort of feel for him a little bit, right? Even though he's clearly a monstrous killer. And it takes the time to spend time with all of these carnival workers. And they do, even if it's just like a morsel of something, they all have a bit of humanity to them, right? Even though they are these often quite odd, dangerous people. And I kind of love that Tobe Hooper always takes the time to kind of give us that as well, you know, even with the monsters.
Yeah, I think that's deliberately why they've gone for Frankenstein there as well, because that is very reminiscent in that story, you know? It's very deliberate. And yeah, I think it's great as well. And I know what you mean about the tenderness, and that it's tender and sleazy. And then... Yeah, when you just see the animalistic side of him and he attacks her and electrocutes her, which of course turns on all of the animatronic characters which were plugged in for some reason in the storeroom.
So good.
And then we get, Kevin Conway coming in as the main Barker, his father. And the fact that he isn't mad that he's killed someone, he's mad that he's killed a carnival family member.
Yeah,
and his main lesson to him is that $100 was too much. You know, you don't know the value of the dollar.
He seems more upset about the loss of that $100 than he does about the dead woman, right? It's quite a disturbing and again kind of lengthy scene that these two then just have together, that it just lets breathe, doesn't it?
Yes.
In a really weird way, yeah.
Yeah, totally. And then we get the reveal, of course, of Gunther's face. Now, this moment is it's kind of infamous. I think some people love it, and it's one of their favourite sort of horror scares in history. And some people laugh at the ridiculousness of it. Where did you land in that dichotomy, Becky?
I think, I loved it. He's like the guy from the Goonies and Castle Freak Had a Baby. And he's fine. I liked it.
I love it. It's Rick Baker.
I don't think it's like, for me, it's just the right level of silly and obviously not real, but still kind of shocking and transgressive enough. Like, it's a little bit like Basket Case or something, where you can see the strings, right? Like, it's not like anybody's believing that this thing exists or has, you know, but it's good enough, or there's something about it that you're like, it's not bringing me out of the movie. I'm still on board. And this is quite a sight to behold.
I think also I think it keeps you in the sort of reality of the world, because we have seen his quote unquote brother in the sort of test tube, the sort of deformed. And what the explanation is that, you know, he's an albino, hair lip, cleft palate, sort of inbred child, really. And so because I think you've had that flash of the deformed animals and the fetus, it keeps you in it and kind of goes, okay, it's not that much of a stretch. It could just be this abomination. What do you think, Mike, of this?
I really liked it as well. It reminded me a little bit, like you said, Becky, Goonies and that Castle Freak and that kind of thing. It also gave me a vibe of Friday the 13th too, right? Jason Voorhees, like pulling off the mask and seeing that face, you know. I think there's always a bit of that. And I really like the design of it. That kind of, almost looks like he was going to be sort of two-headed or Siamese or something, but it kind of stopped partway through. So he's sort of got two noses, and his head is almost split in the middle, right? But it's one whole, and it's a really cool-looking thing. I really like it, yeah.
It's great. And it's clearly just, you know, there's no animatronics. It can't blink. It's just a mask, but it's utilized so well. And the guy who played him was a tap dancer and a mime. So that's why the physicality it just really sells it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And so, obviously they get rumbled because Richie fucking drops the lighter. And so then Gunther is set out to hunt and kill them all, and then it becomes much more of a slasher, doesn't it? Because at first we get poor Richie, who has a double whammy, the noose and the axe to the back of the head. Did you like this? It's my favourite.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. That whole sequence when it's him, right, that gets taken away on the little ghost train cart as well, as like Liz sort of runs after it screaming as well. Just that whole sequence.
And that's wonderful. Really great. Because he keeps coming round on the tracks, and every time he appears again, they like start screaming.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's silhouetted when it's approaching, and so Buzz doesn't know what it is and just axes him in the back of the head. It's like rough. You really hear that like thud of it going through into the brain. And then for me, the scariest, genuinely scary moment in the whole movie is when Liz has fallen through the trapdoor into like a dead end of an air vent, and we just see Gunther slowly round the corner. We hear that banging of the metal, and we see a silhouette. I think it's nightmare fuel. It's fucking horrid. Like I would have stuck my head in the fucking blades to get away from
just to get away from it. Yeah.
I think it's great. And then they hold back on I think it's suggested that, he does push her into the fan, but we don't, it's not very bloody. And I like that. Again, the original script was horrendous, apparently, and he'd tear these people from limb to limb, which I don't know. There's a part of me that kind of would like to see that.
Sorry, I was going to say it does. Yeah, it does feel more like it's like a 70s Texas Chainsaw film in its level of violence rather than a 1981 slasher movie, doesn't it? I think. Like, I was surprised at how little kind of on-screen gore there was and that kind of thing. But I'm with you. That scene with the air vent and the fan and the way that she's trying to sort of say, look, I'll sleep with you and stuff, and it's trying to like bargain for her life, and it's really long and drawn out. It's really scary. Yeah.
And that really reminded me of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which I'm personally a massive fan of. But you get that whole thing with Stretch trying to kind of seduce Leatherface and sort of say, like, I'll be your girlfriend.
Underground,
so this really reminded me of that. I was like, oh, okay. All right, Toby, I see.
Yeah. I see you. I see. He hasn't even done that yet.
I know. Yeah, this was his kind of, testing it out.
Yeah.
So then, we get the final showdown, really, and Buzz impales the Barker onto a real sword that's just casually pointing towards all the customers who ride the Funhouse, and then he pulls him onto it, and then, Gunther kills Buzz, and then, so... What do you think of this final scene? Because this feels very Texas Chainsaw as well. So we're left with Amy in the sort of the bowels/abattoir of the Funhouse, which I didn't realise they had. What do you like? Do you like all this? It's all chains and sort of carousels and cogs, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked it. It kind of feels like you're in a nightmare by that point, right? It's like everything that is real has kind of ceased to be by this point, and it's just like one final girl who's by this point probably lost her mind and a killer, and you're just running around places where you don't know where they are, where this connects to everything else. It's like this never-ending... Again, it's like that final scene of Texas Chainsaw, like this never-ending nightmare that you can't seem to sort of wake up from.
Yeah.
That's sort of what it feels like, right? Until she gets out of there and it's daylight again. But it's like, it's a horrific final act,
It's like Hellraiser, it's like Freddy's Boiler Room. It's like you say, it's like nightmarish. And although... I mean, I know she's lost her mind. Fine. But he gets all tangled up in the hooks and the chains and stuff, and gets sort of electrocuted.
I know what you're gonna say.
There's sparks flying. She just stands there,
very close,
within an arm's reach of him, for about 2.5 minutes, screaming,
waking him up.
As he moves on the thing, it's like he could have moved past her. No, she just keeps up with him, so making sure that she's nice and close. And then Stevie, she basically wakes him up with her screaming, and then he grabs her. I'm like, bitch, what are you doing? Get out of there.
I don't know if this is the point, because this is the point where there's lots of cogs. I don't know if it was this or one of the real rides, but obviously these fairground rides aren't meant to be constantly on, and so that caused quite a few problems. There was one moment when, the octopus ride, where it's like loads of arms of the octopus and you go up and down and stuff like that. So the extras were all on that for a day's shooting, and it's normally on for 3 minutes at a time, but obviously with filming things take longer, and they were on it for half an hour. And they were vomiting and they were screaming for it to stop, and no one really noticed because it was so in the background, and they were focused on filming in the foreground and there was no one checking. So there were these extras absolutely screaming, passing out. Ambulances were called. There's one moment where something had been on too long and a cog shot through the air towards Tobe Hooper, and an extra got in the way, and the cog broke the extra's arm by hitting it, but it probably would have killed Tobe Hooper.
Like, got in the way on purpose? Like, I'll save you, Toby!
Oh, I don't know. I'd love to know, actually. I'd love to find out if he did, like, a slow motion jump.
Because I hope he got a fucking bonus if that's true.
Oh, I doubt it. Toby got bitten by a really venomous spider and all sorts. It was fully, and obviously a lot of the extras were carnival folk as well, so it was just quite, I reckon the atmosphere was the reason it comes off screen so well, is because it was that, I think it was that sort of slightly dangerous traveling circus type vibe, and I think it's my second favorite Tobe Hooper film.
Yeah, it is. It's
What about
mine
you,
as
Mike?
well. Yeah, it is my second favorite. And again, like you said, it feels unhinged. It feels unsafe. It feels deranged.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised all of those stories have been going on. You know, it's the same with Texas Chainsaw. Obviously, all those stories about people passing out and throwing up and overheating and all of that. It's like it's just that equivalent in a carnival, isn't it? And I don't know why people continuously wanted to work with Tobe Hooper as a director by the sounds of it, because he put them through hell. But it creates some amazing films, that's for sure, because you do feel genuinely unsafe watching them, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a really marvellous time revisiting this, and it's really shot high in my favourite horror films list. It's I didn't remember loving it this much, and Becky, I'm sad that you didn't love it, but I totally get it.
If you two are saying that this is your second favourite Tobe Hooper film, is that because you're being facetious and pretending that the Poltergeist is directed by Steven Spielberg?
No, I don't
No.
really... Right, okay. You might take my horror card away. I went to see Poltergeist. I took my boyfriend to the cinema because they had a 40th anniversary screening. And I didn't love it. I loved it as a kid. I find the middle really long and quite boring. And it just didn't do it for me. So it's actually not one of my top 5 Tobe Hoopers.
Whoa.
Wow.
I love the sequels, though. The sequels scare me with Reverend Kane. Fucking horrible stuff. But I don't love Poltergeist.
I mean, I do love Poltergeist. I think it's great, but I sort of agree a little bit with Stevie that it does sag a bit in the middle, but I still think it's great. But I love Tobe Hooper's more unhinged stuff, I think. And this is a bit more my bag. Yeah.
Fine.
But Steven Spielberg did direct it. No, no. Do you think it is purely because of the setting, Becky, or did you just find it a bit boring?
I don't know.
That's fine.
I don't know. I think I'm in a bit of a grump about it because there were too many fucking clowns and I was told there weren't any clowns. So I'm a bit cross.
So sorry.
Well, they sold it on that as well, coming off the back of John Wayne Gacy as well, because the original poster was just a close-up of the sort of hair lip. It wasn't a clown at all.
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
And then to sell it, they redid the poster of having like this clown that it doesn't feature in it at all. No. Anyway, any final thoughts from either of you?
When Buzz gets brought out, when he's dead, when Buzz gets brought out, he's in
the clown.
arms.
Yes.
He's in the arms of a clown, and then as he comes into shot, there's just another clown chilling in the background, and I was like, Mike, I'm going in, like, texting him. And he was like, don't worry, there's no clowns. And then literally the first fucking image that comes up against one of the credits is a scary clown. I'm like, I have a feeling I'm being mugged off here. Like, I think this is a wind up.
Oh God.
So I'm a little bit cross about it. And that may have
marred your experience.
It may have soured my experience. There are better Tobe Hooper films, as in, like, not just one. There are lots of better Tobe Hooper films. But, fine, whatever. It was fine.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, thank you. I found it really great to watch during the season as well. It felt very Halloween-y to me, even though it's not actually technically a Halloween-y film. But I suppose it's that whole fun fair atmosphere. So what can we look out for? What is happening? What's coming up very soon this month? You said it's very busy, so tell us what's going on.
So there will be on the 12th of October, Becky and I will be hosting a fun event in London. If you're London-based, at the Genesis Cinema, we're going to be hosting an evening of kind of spooky campfire stories, like an open mic night. You can come and tell a spooky story and listen to some spooky stories, and then we're following that.
We're opening Mike up in front of everybody.
Yeah. And then we're gonna
flaying him.
Yeah,
very good. We should have designed a poster, an open mic night. Like
we should,
open mic.
Yeah. But, and then we're following it up with a screening of Urban Legend as well. Classic.
I
90s
can't believe that. I wish I could come.
Yeah. So
dang,
that's
dang,
going to be
dang.
that's going to be really fun. And then we've got loads of other things so we've got this screening on Halloween at the Regent Street Cinema, and there's a couple of other things that are going on. And keep listening to.
We're going to Bradford.
Oh, we're going to Bradford.
We're going
that's
to Bradford,
right.
Mike.
We're going to Bradford. Yeah. That's the 29th of October.
9th?
Becky and I will be in Bradford. So if you're up north, we'll be doing a screening of Ghostwatch with Adam Robinson, and we'll be doing a panel afterwards and everything as well. So yeah, loads of fun stuff. Just follow us on Twitter to keep up to date, basically, is the best way.
Is it all on evolutionofhorror.com as well?
It is. Yeah, it's all on the website.
All right, my lovelies. Well, happy bloody Halloween. Now, hopefully I'll see you at one of these events.
I hope so. Happy bloody Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Keep it spooky. Bye.
Bye.
Ah, I love those two. We always have so much fun, even if Becky had a mild coronary watching the movie. More from those two soon, I'm sure. Next week, I'll be joined by one of my oldest and bestest friends, casting director Chandra Ruark, and we will be slicing and dicing our way through 1984's The Mutilator, aka Fall Break. And if you've already seen it, I bet that theme tune is now ringing around your head, and if you're yet to watch it, get ready, because it is quite the earworm. Alright, I cannot wait. I'll see you then, you stinking rotters. Toodles!